In a world brimming with warriors consumed by vengeance, ambition, and dominance, there stand two men who move differently. One floats not just above the ground, but above ego. The other has already transcended worldly desires, bound only by the need to find a worthy fighter and pass on his knowledge. Dhalsim and Oro are not rivals, nor are they master and student. Instead, they are wandering monks of different traditions, yoga and senjutsu, bound by their search for truth, not triumph. From afar, their lives seem simple. Dhalsim, the ascetic priest who breathes fire and levitates, is often dismissed as a mere spiritualist. Oro, a half-clothed recluse with a mysterious aura and bound arm, hides his true strength beneath eccentricity. But behind their stillness lies something terrifying and profound, a deeper understanding of power itself. And when these two sages meet, beneath a moonless sky, with nothing but tea, lentils, and the stillness of the night between them, the conversation that unfolds becomes one of the most enlightening and unsettling revelations in Street Fighter's hidden lore. Let's begin with the foundations, two radically different paths that eventually cross at the edge of something far greater. Dhalsim's journey begins not in a tournament bracket, but in quiet contemplation. A Hindu priest from India, Dhalsim seeks not to conquer the world, but to understand it, to pierce the veil of illusion, or Maya, that clouds the soul. A devotee of the Hindu god of fire Agni, his fighting style is yoga, but not as the world knows it. To him, it is a sacred practice that stretches beyond the physical, reaching into a power source fueled by devotion, inner clarity, and self-denial. And yet, even a man of peace must sometimes fight. In Street Fighter Alpha 2, Dhalsim fights for his suffering people, raising money to save his impoverished village. Conflicted at having used violence to achieve a good end, he meditates in order to cleanse his mind of what he views as an evil force. However, the other villagers simply thank him for having fought for them, the money he won having provided medicine, food, and shelter for all. He asks his wife Sally whether his actions have created bad karma, and she says he has not. His actions have improved the lives of everyone. Dhalsim ponders her words. Do the ends ever justify the means? In Street Fighter Alpha 3, Dhalsim senses the rising evil of M. Bison's psycho power, and sets out into the world to confront it, concerned that in doing so, he will one day renounce the root of his own power. On his journey, he meets with Rose. Reading her mind, he warns her that she should not live her life so carelessly, given that she is driven to confront and destroy the dictator Bison, no matter the cost. Later, he meets with Birdie, now working for Shadaloo, and asks where the Shadaloo base is. Birdie declines to answer, but says that if he gives him an entertaining fight, he might give up the location. After, however, Dhalsim reveals that he could simply read the location from Birdie's mind. And Birdie asks, why not just do that in the first place? Dhalsim also crosses paths with Cammy in her arcade run, and is the one to make her aware that she is under a form of mind control by Shadaloo, something that leads to her finally confronting Bison herself and breaking free from his control. After destroying Bison in his ending, he realizes that the dictator's dark power has not dissipated. Locating the Shadaloo base, he destroys Bison's psycho drive, putting an end to the dictator once and for all. In Street Fighter 2, Dhalsim enters the World Warrior Tournament with the goal of testing his yoga skills and rising to a higher state of consciousness. His quest keeps him from his family for a long time, however. 3 years after the tournament, his son is now old enough to ask about his past life as a fighter, a life that causes Dhalsim to constantly question his own actions. By Street Fighter 4, Dhalsim is forced back into the world of street fighting. His motivation is once again a personal one, as his village is robbed of water by Shadaloo, who have constructed a dam upstream. During the tournament hosted by SIN, Shadaloo's Weapons and Research Division, he crosses paths with Rufus, true rival to Ken Masters, even if Ken doesn't know who he is. Rufus believes Dhalsim is some kind of alien due to his ability to float above the ground. In his ending, Dhalsim returns to his village, which now once again has running water, and meditates on how evil can never truly be vanquished. However, he does retain his hope in humanity. By Street Fighter V, Dhalsim has become more of a sage than a competitor. He's now an elder among fighters, guiding others in small but meaningful ways. A local police officer, Mahesh, seeks Dhalsim out and requests that he teach him the ways of yoga that he might better protect his people. Their conversation is interrupted by both Rashid and Armika, whom Dhalsim spars with, as well as offering them his wisdom and guidance. Rashid even mentions that Dhalsim is one of the 7 yoga masters in the world you gotta meet at least once, something that he's found on the net, showing that Dhalsim is something of an online celebrity, though he is unfamiliar with the technology himself. The wise and powerful hermit Oro also makes an appearance. He asks Dhalsim why he would train someone like Mahesh, whose skill is poor. Dhalsim simply states that it is because he believes in him, and that he wishes to help and support others, and ultimately harmonize everything in the universe. Dhalsim's goal is not to master his own skill, but to spread it to others and bring harmony to those he teaches around the world. In Street Fighter V's main story, Ryu, still wrestling with the Satsui no Hado, turns to Dhalsim for guidance. The yoga master warns that suppressing the Hado will only lead to being consumed by it. Their conversation is cut short, however, by the arrival of the feral warrior Necalli, intent on devouring both their souls. Necalli overpowers Ryu, awakening the Satsui no Hado within him, but Dhalsim's timely intervention allows Ryu to regain control. The beast retreats just as one of Bison's black moons eclipses the sun. In the aftermath, Dhalsim recalls the tale of an ancient warrior who appears only in times of great crisis. With Shadaloo on the move once more, Dhalsim joins forces with Karin Kanzuki and the other fighters she has assembled to fight against Bison. They seek out chess pieces that have been sent to various fighters across the globe and seem to be tied to the operation of the Black Moons. Dhalsim seeks out Alex in New York in order to retrieve the piece sent to him. Though Alex initially takes him for a mugger, Dhalsim does convince him to hand over his piece. Arriving late to the Shadaloo base, being infiltrated by Karin and other fighters, he is just in time to rescue Chun-Li from a squad of soldiers, and passes her Alex's piece. He then later joins the final assault on Shadaloo, unceremoniously shoving Birdie out of a helicopter before teleporting to the ground below. When Bison falls, and the base is reduced to ruins, Dhalsim stands alongside the other fighters, bearing silent witness to the end of Shadaloo. There is another moment that comes out of Street Fighter V that speaks volumes. His conversation with Oro in the side reader, Musings on a Still Night, set after the fall of Shadaloo. But I'll dive deeper into that in Oro's section later. In Street Fighter VI, Dhalsim remains largely removed from the main conflict, but his legacy endures. He appears in the World Tour mode, training players who seek him out. His teachings emphasize the spiritual cost of violence, yet he does not condemn those who must fight. Instead, he challenges them to understand why they fight. In his story mode, Dhalsim senses a faint trace of immense power. Wondering if it had been lying dormant for some time, he follows the trail to a young fighter named Lily, a member of the Thunderfoot tribe, the same lineage as T-Hawk. Mistaking him for a spirit due to his ability to float, Lily listens as Dhalsim explains he has come to better understand her strength. After their bout, however, the presence he had felt is gone. Lily, puzzled by his words, suggests he speak with her tribe's chief, Singing Wolf. Dhalsim reflects that the energy he sensed may have been the Satsui no Hado, or perhaps merely a trick of the senses. In the vast tapestry of spiritual mastery and hidden strength within the Street Fighter universe, Dhalsim is far from alone in his quest for understanding the true nature of power. Enter Oro, the enigmatic hermit, whose very existence defies the limits of mortal comprehension. Where Dhalsim's journey is one of devotion and balance, Oro embodies the paradox of restraint and overwhelming might. The pair's shared pursuit of transcending human limitations leads to a conversation that will challenge everything Dhalsim believes about control, sacrifice, and the cost of true power. Oro is a figure shrouded in mystery, an ancient hermit and sennin who lives apart from the world, yet whose influence quietly shapes its fate. Unlike Dhalsim, who teaches openly and acts with purpose, Oro's approach is elusive, unpredictable, and often playful. His strength comes not just from mastery of physical technique, but from transcending the boundaries of the ordinary. He is rumored to be over 130 years old, living in near total isolation with his pets in order to hone his senjutsu, an art that blends spiritual power, ki control, and martial skill into a singular force. Canonically one of Street Fighter's strongest warriors, his fighting style is unconventional, mixing raw strength with tricks that defy logic and physics. His use of a single arm, keeping the other sealed to limit his power, hints at a warrior who has tamed a force too great for most mortals. Every so often, however, Oro will leave his cave and travel out into the world. In Street Fighter V, Oro is visited by the fortune teller Rose, who is concerned about a strange new power she can sense in the world, following the destruction of the dictator Bison. Oro states that he too can sense it, but does not detect any evil within it. Rather, it is an overwhelming force of nature. Rose gifts Oro a snazzy new shirt and then spars with him, wishing to refine her soul power. She also informs him about G, the one who appears to be the source of the energy she had felt, and that she wishes to meet him in order to touch his soul and discover his true nature. After she leaves, he speaks to his pet turtle Yamasen, believing that Rose must be in love with him, and laments the fact that they hadn't met a century earlier. Unconcerned with the new and strange energy in the world, he seeks out dinner, arriving at the doorstep of one Dhalsim. They discuss Bison, whose influence has long since been gone from the world. Oro says that if it were simply his use of psycho power and his armies that set the world on a path to destruction, then they have already avoided the worst possible outcome, for now. But he posits the idea that the real threat may be something intangible, like a force of will. Perhaps it is Bison's own dark ambition that is trying to swallow the world whole, a force that has already been exerted upon the world, consistently threatening its existence. And if he has instilled his will into others, then the apocalypse may yet come to pass. This leaves Dhalsim shaken, as it would mean it's impossible to prevent the world from moving towards destruction. Oro says it may be the true nature of psychopower, to corrupt and control people's minds. But Oro doesn't have a pessimistic mindset, for if there exists those with a powerful enough mind to destroy the world, then there are others, in the right state of mind, who could save it instead. In his own words,
"If a human with such a clear and unselfish state of mind does indeed exist, then that person could prevent the impending apocalypse, but only that person with that kind of strength."
This conversation is expanded upon in the Street Fighter V story, Musings on a Still Night. After enjoying a satisfying meal, Oro and Dhalsim start a philosophical conversation about psychopower. Years have now passed since he put his life on the line to rid the world of it, but recently Dhalsim has sensed tremors of its presence once more. Oro, never one to take things too seriously, goads Dhalsim, unsuccessfully, insinuating that his power, yoga, is much like psychopower, and could also be a dangerous force. While demonstrating his own ki, Oro's eyes suddenly glow red like a wild beast. Dhalsim recognizes the Satsui no Hado, the killing intent, emanating from within the old sage. But just as Dhalsim steels himself to fight, the feeling of dread fades, and Oro reveals it to have been merely an imitation. He muses that all of the powers in the world, psychopower, ki, yoga, the Satsui no Hado, and even soul power, are the same when followed to their root. Not completely the same, but connected, much like how the surface of the water looks the same to the fish in it and the birds flying above it. Oro likens them to Calabi-Yau manifolds, complex geometrical spaces used for understanding extraspatial dimensions in string theory. Dhalsim ponders Oro's words, noting that the ways each person achieves their power and rises above their limits are different. Each have their own boundaries, and their own methods for crossing those boundaries. Oro then says that the real question is, what power is at the root of all these things? He states that power itself is neither good nor evil, even in the cases of psychopower and the Satsui no Hado. inviting the point that labeling power as evil invites errors when working to suppress it. Dhalsim wonders whether the old hermit knows more than he is letting on, perhaps even knowing how to cut off the source of psychopower entirely. But Oro just states that the days of acting like he could save the world are long behind him. It's up to the young bucks, like Dhalsim, and his contemporaries to figure out how to approach the source of their powers, and use that to fight against those who rise up, and use that power for evil. In Street Fighter III, Oro participates in Gil's World Warrior Tournament, on the hunt for potential candidates for him to pass on his skills. In his ending, he contemplates those he fought, and decides that the only one with a true passion for fighting was Ryu. Riding atop an aeroplane, he says that he'll teach him to fight all over again, so that he can finally become good. In Third Strike, Oro is tracked down by the ninja in training, Ibuki, who has been ordered to fight him for her ninja graduation exam. It seems that she fights well enough, as in her own ending she goes on to go to university, though it's not what she expected. Oro also crosses paths with Akuma. He is impressed that a young man such as Akuma can wield the evil intent, aka Satsui no Hado, but the fact that he calls himself the Master of Fists troubles the Sennin. He knows that the road to true mastery is much harder. In Oro's ending, he sits atop a large boulder training, and says that it has been 50 years since he trained this seriously, and whenever he sees that kid, Ryu, his blood begins to boil again. But he seems unaware that the boulder he is sat on is being used by Ryu in his own training. In fact, both are unaware of each other's presence. Oro then states that he hopes Ryu will become strong, so that he will have to use both of his arms, but that it will take at least another 15 years before that could happen. Oro has yet to make it to the roster of Street Fighter VI, but he remains a symbol of ancient knowledge, a guardian of secrets, that could one day unravel the cycle of violence. Dhalsim and Oro stand as spiritual mirrors, two masters who reveal that the true battle is not just with others, but within oneself. Dhalsim's journey is one of discipline, compassion, and sacrifice. From his roots as a yoga priest, who uses his power to protect and heal, to his most recent role as a guardian and teacher, Dhalsim embodies the strength that comes from harmony and self-control. Oro's path is quieter, but no less profound. He challenges not only Dhalsim, but all fighters to reconsider what power truly is. Though he now rarely intervenes directly in the world's affairs, his presence is a reminder that true mastery lies beyond mere combat. He embodies the idea that strength is not just physical prowess, but wisdom, restraint, and understanding the flow of time itself. In this, Dhalsim and Oro represent two faces of enlightenment, one grounded in service and devotion, the other in transcendence and playful wisdom. Both show that ultimate mastery comes not from domination, but from understanding the delicate balance between light and dark, power and restraint. As Street Fighter's story continues, these philosophies remain a vital compass for fighters who grapple not just with their enemies, but with the shadows within themselves. Shadows that the ever-present force known as psychopower seeks to amplify and use to control the actions of warriors throughout the world. Street Fighter's story may be heading towards a confrontation between those who allow themselves to be corrupted by it, and those who challenge and fight it. Could it fully manifest the Satsui no Hado within Lily? Tempt Sagat back into Bison's hands? Or maybe even corrupt someone with the power of nature itself, which might lead to the apocalypse gleamed in past visions? Both Dhalsim and Oro are positioned to be keepers of hidden knowledge, and guides for any warrior or warriors who have it within themselves to resist such a corrupting influence and turn the tide against evil. Dhalsim and Oro remind us that true strength is not found in raw power alone. It lies in wisdom, balance, and the courage to confront what dwells within. Their metaphor of water, its surface and boundaries, offers a striking lens through which to view the many forces in Street Fighter. Power may appear in countless forms, molded by perception, discipline, and intent, yet perhaps all drawn from a single, hidden current that runs beneath. From a theory crafting perspective, this idea could connect to Ingrid's return in Street Fighter VI. Longtime fans speculate that she can traverse dimensions, as well as travel through time and space. The concept of a root power from which all others emerge resonates with her Alpha 3 storyline, in which she descends to Earth to reclaim a fragment of her own lost power, Psycho Power, which had somehow fallen into the hands of the dictator, M. Bison. In the end, Dhalsim and Oro teach that the greatest battle is not against an opponent, but against oneself, and that true mastery is only the first step on an endless path. If you enjoyed exploring the spiritual and philosophical realms of these two sages, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep lore journeys into the Street Fighter universe and beyond. And let me know in the comments, where do you see Dhalsim and Oro's paths leading to in the future? Will Dhalsim act as a guide for Lily Hulk, who may well have the Satsui no Hado buried deep within her? And has Ryo reached the point where Oro will find it acceptable to fight him with both arms? Thanks for watching, and until next time, be excellent to yourselves and one another, and I'll see you soon.